Hi everyone, and welcome to our weekly Checkers Baby vlog. On alternate weeks I do a live video blog on their website, and on other weeks I'm doing a baby meetup on their Facebook page, so please do join us. The topic for today is baby's milestones. What should and shouldn't your baby be doing? Should you be concerned? And at what ages do babies actually achieve their milestones? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look a little bit at what's going on for your baby's milestones, and then at the end of today I'm going to look at some of the questions that are currently coming up on Facebook and Twitter. So if you're wanting to ask me a question, all you need to do is go onto your Facebook or onto your Twitter account, hashtag baby meetup. For Twitter and for Facebook you can actually use the Checkers Facebook page, and I'm going to go across there right now and just check if there are some questions coming through. And of course there's some wonderful questions. Nuran, I see your question and I'm definitely going to get to that one. So we're going to answer your questions there today. So let's have a look first of all at whether or not milestones are important. Now milestones are the ages at which your baby should achieve certain developmental activities. So for instance, talking, walking, crawling and so on. It's one of the measures that parents often use to measure their child's brilliance. And the question is, are milestones actually a reflection of a child's capacities and brilliance? Is it something we should be cognizant of? Well, the first thing you need to know is that milestones happen in ranges. They don't happen on a day. I can't tell you that every single baby will walk on the day that they turn 1. In fact, walking is a good example. Babies, in fact, walk at very different ages. So let's have a look at this. You can see that the average for walking is 12 to 16 months. There you can see in the middle of the curve, we've got most babies walking at that time. The second thing is, though, is that babies actually, some of them walk a lot earlier. So some babies, we can actually see the little one in the nappy, can actually walk as early as 7 or 8 months. And I know that sounds crazy. I saw one very recently at a talk I did with my own eyes, walking very, very early. Other babies walk very much later, maybe at 18 or even 19 months. Now, of course, when your baby's only walking that late, you would be justified to be a little bit concerned. The thing that this illustrates is that babies are individuals and that they all walk at different times. And as long as there's no cluster of delays, in other words, other things that point to delayed milestones, you do not need to worry. So you can go right ahead and not be concerned. So the first thing is there's a wide variety of difference. But the second thing is, and this is where parents often get caught up, is that in actual fact, how early your baby achieves a milestone doesn't necessarily show you how they're going to achieve those milestones or success in that area later on. So let's take, for instance, walking. Let's take a baby who walks at 9 months of age, and I have known a couple of these who've walked very early. Now these babies, do they go on to become absolutely fabulous at sports? Do they go on to become our Springboks or our national, represent us nationally? Or are the babies who are walking later the ones who are actually doing that? Now the truth is that early onset of milestones has absolutely no bearing to long-term development. In fact, I know some very, very sporty kids who only walked at 18 months of age. So the very critical thing you need to know about milestones is that first of all, babies are individuals. So do not measure your baby against another baby necessarily, because your baby is its own person. And the second thing that you want to know is that babies who walk early or talk early, that doesn't necessarily indicate how they're going to develop later on. So don't become over obsessed with how early your baby is walking or talking or whatever. Okay, so those are very, very important principles. Now, the next question that always comes up is, are there milestones that are very, very important and that really shouldn't be missed? Now, milestones actually go in a trajectory. Pretty much all babies do it in a specific order. They smile, they roll, they sit, they crawl, they walk, they talk, they run. And those milestones moving through that progression is normal. And each of those milestones is very important. And the one that I really think is extremely important is the smiling milestone. And that's your first milestone that happens at about 6 weeks of age. Although any mom will tell you that their baby may have smiled earlier, and I believe them. I think babies can smile a whole lot earlier than we actually give them credit for. So your baby might smile earlier than 6 weeks, but approximately 6 weeks your baby is likely to smile. Going on from there, crawling is another very important milestone, and I'm missing out sitting and walking. I'll talk about them later, but crawling is a very important milestone. Crawling, some people say, don't worry if your baby doesn't crawl, your baby may or may not crawl. The reality is babies need to crawl. What it does is it reinforces all of those wonderful shoulder girdle muscles, which is important for fine motor control. And also, it's very important for exploring your world from a different angle. So you crawl under something, you develop a spatial awareness. So crawling is a very, very important milestone. I am not saying that smiling and crawling are more important than others, but because they're the ones that are often ignored, it's important for me to just indicate to you that they are very important milestones. All right, so now let's have a look at our milestones, approximately when they happen, and then I'm going to go on and I'm going to go across to our Twitter feed, across to our Facebook page, and we're going to pick up some questions there. So here are your milestones approximately. Now remember what I said about the range. Smiling happens at approximately 6 weeks of age. Babies certainly do smile earlier than 6 weeks of age. Very often as early as 2 weeks of age, babies are already indicating that they're ready to smile. But most babies by 6 weeks of age are smiling. By 4 to 6 months of age, your baby should be rolling. And that is very dependent on whether or not your baby has tummy time. So tummy time is very, very important. And so at 4 to 6 months of age, you would want your baby to have some tummy time as well. And so they roll. And then, of course, sitting happens at 4 to 6 months of age, so 6 to 7 months of age. And again, sitting is one of the milestones, which is fairly specific. Most babies sit at 6 to 7 months of age. Then going on to our crawling, babies crawl at 7 to 10 months of age, some as late as 10 months, and then babies go on to walk. And you can see walking there is very variable at 11 to 16 months. Most babies say their first word at around 12 months of age. And then between 18 and 24 months of age, we have this absolute language explosion. So babies go from saying 1 or 2 words, or maybe 3 or 4 words, to suddenly linking words and repeating everything their parents say. So language has an explosion later on in the second year of life. So those are your milestones. The critical things to know is that your baby is an individual and milestones happen within a range. It is not specific. The second important thing to know is that just because your baby walks or talks early doesn't indicate any form of brilliance. So don't go boasting and don't be concerned that if your baby is late, it's going to reflect that they're going to have a delay in that area forever. Really, it doesn't have too long-term consequences. The only other thing that I would say is that if your baby has had a cluster of late developmental milestones, in other words, never rolled, never crawled, and is not sitting by 8 months of age, you probably do have something to be concerned about. And so for that, you would want to go and see a pediatrician or a physiotherapist. So be cognizant of the milestones. If there's a cluster of late milestones, be concerned, but otherwise don't worry too much. So now let's go across. We're going to have a look at some of the questions that are coming through. And here's one coming through on Twitter right now from Nuran, and she says, "Hi Meg, my 6-month-old doesn't seem keen on standing or bouncing. Does it mean anything? Or is she just not interested?" So Nuran, at 6 months old, we do want our babies to bear weight. So usually we're holding them in our laps and they put their feet down on our legs and they want to bounce. Some babies, if you put them on your lap standing up, they put their feet down and they immediately retract their little legs up. So their little feet come up like this and they don't want to bear any weight. With those babies, we are sometimes concerned about weight bearing, and it is worth getting that checked out by a physio. But 6 months is still a little bit early to be concerned. I would say in the next month or two, particularly if your baby hasn't rolled and isn't showing any indication of wanting to crawl and not putting their hands down on the floor, they might have some sort of defensiveness towards deep pressure and towards weight bearing, and then you could get it checked out. But around at 6 months, I'm not overly concerned. I'm watching it. Okay. Then I've got a question, really nice one from Chantel Hurst, and she says, this is on the Checkers Facebook page, and she says, "At what age should my daughter be able to say more than just baby?" So Chanel, you don't say how old your baby is, and if your baby's saying only one word at a year of age, baba or baby, then I wouldn't worry about it too much. If your baby's approaching 18 months and is only saying one word, and that's baby, then I would be somewhat concerned. I would say that probably she's also saying mama and dada and ta and bye, and if she's saying those things and baby, I wouldn't be worried. But certainly by 2 years of age, for any of you who've got a baby by 2 years of age who isn't speaking more than just one word, then that is something where we would want to just have it checked out. All right, so let's have a look. There was another question that came through here on, and this was actually on my Facebook page, but I brought it across, and this is really nice from Monique, and it said, "Meg, how can I encourage my 7-month-old little girl to crawl? She sits beautifully already and sometimes switches from her tummy to sitting, or shall I just wait?" Okay, so Monique, she's doing really well, because if she's coming from her tummy into a sitting position, she's activating those core muscles really well. I promise you she's going to crawl. In fact, I would eat my hat if she didn't crawl, because she's already doing those movements strengthening her tummy muscles, going from a prone or tummy position up into sitting. The sort of things you can do is put in a toy just outside of reach of her, to the left or to the right, and what you'll find is she'll go over to reach it, and if it's just out of reach, she'll lean down hard on one arm and reach with the other, and before you know it, she'll swivel herself up into a 4-point position, and after a couple of times of moving into that 4-point position, she'll start to rock, and the next thing you know, she'll be on her way. So 7 months old Monique, I think she's doing absolutely fabulously, so I would definitely not be concerned. I'm going to just have a look and see if there's another question on the Facebook page and on development. And let's see over here. Yes, here we go. There's another one that came across. Let's just have a look. And this one came across. In fact, this was the one from Nuran, that the 6-month-old didn't seem keen on standing, and I have answered that already. It came through on Twitter as well. So there we go. Those are the questions, and I'm going to answer one more from Candace, and she says, "Hi Meg, my almost 16-month-old baby girl has never slept through even for one night. I'm desperately in need of your help. She's still breastfeeding during the day, still breastfed. During the day she drinks Nido, but as soon as I get home she'll stop all other feeds and wants the breast. What can I do to make her sleep through and to make her take other foods?" Okay, so at 16 months old, babies need much less milk during 24 hours. So they actually only need 240 mils or 1 cup of milk, and that should be just before bedtime. And Candace, I would recommend that is your breastfeed, because it's wonderful bonding time with your baby. You can continue to breastfeed for as long as you want to and make it just that one feed. But it is important that she's not using your breast for comfort purposes by this age, because by this age, developmentally, babies are ready to self-soothe. And if they aren't self-settling by 16 months of age, they're going to rely on you in the middle of the night. And if they are feeding throughout the night, it will disrupt their appetite for good food for solid food during the day. And of course, having solids during the day is important after 6 months of age. And the reason for that is that there's certain nutrients that breast milk doesn't fully cover our babies for. So you need to take away the milk at night so you can activate an appetite during the day. And I would limit that milk feed to the evenings at 16 months of age. So good luck with that. And thank you all for joining us. It really is wonderful to engage with you. I hope that you've learned something from our Milestones chat. And next week, same time, you can join us on the Checkers Facebook page, and I'll be answering your questions. See you then.